Our goal here at Wallstead Whitetails is to treat every scenario, every spot, or every farm as if it has our next target deer on that farm or on that spot, as if that was our only spot or our only farm to hunt. In this case, we got a project going today up here that this was overgrown pasture. 2 years ago, started clearing a spot up here, and then last year again made it a little bit bigger, and then this year we're going to go ahead and make it a little bit bigger, just because we have a couple of deer up here that are going to be of interest this next season. A couple deer that we know we're going to want to target. So what we're doing here today is extending this plot to the south. We've taken out a few trees. And doing a little bit of mowing over here. And we're taking these trees that we're pulling and taking them up in front of the next gen blind. And lining them up off the timber towards the blind to create a screen to force these deer to come closer to that next gen blind. Then we're also going to come back later and maybe fudge that blind 10 or 15 yards closer to that screen to create a 30 to 40 yard gap right there that these deer have to walk through. Probably put a tree koi out on the end of that screen. Just one more thing to entice that buck to come around it in front of the blind. Also, there's two other scrape trees that we left in this plot, one to the north of the blind and one to the south. These bucks were just hammering these trees here last year. Also, we're going to put some type of access screen around the blind leading up to the blind. There's two little ridges and a ditch leading right up to the blind where you can stay low. Probably put some hay bales or Egyptian wheat on those ridges so that you can stay low and unseen getting into the plot. Also, there's a ditch that leads up to the back of the blind. We may dig out just a little bit more as we move that blind farther into the plot. Probably dig that ditch out up to it so that you can stay really low getting into that blind and getting out of the blind. Right now in this new area, I'm just mowing down right now, helping the breakdown process just to speed that up a little bit. Like I said, we already pulled out some trees. Not real sure what we're going to put in here this year. We'll have some type of grain for the majority, probably start with corn and see how it does. And then we'll probably try to get some green, whether it be clover, rye, or some brassicas. We've already overseeded an area for clover around the next gen over there. And probably this new stuff over here on the south end will probably end up being at least half green over here. So the idea here is to have food for these deer early and late. So what we've done is we've narrowed down what was probably a 80 to 90 yard gap to 30 to 40. One scenario could be that a deer walks this plot. A lot of these deer like to travel north-south for the most part, hits that screen and maybe ducks back in the woods. Our philosophy would be that that deer probably wasn't going to come in range anyways. But what we're going to do is try to, when he does hit that screen, try to make it so it's irresistible for him to come around that east side of it in front of that next gen. We'll probably put a tree koi out at the end of that screen. And then we've already left two existing trees out in the plot that they just hammered last year for scrapes. When these deer do make an appearance in this plot, they got to walk within range.